You want to know how I got started playing poker? Well, the truth of the matter is, somebody just said to me one day, "You'd be a really good poker player." And I thought, let me think, okay, so why is that? And he said, well, you're good at math, you're really good at reading people, you're very competitive with yourself, so what I did was I thought, okay, I guess I can be a poker player. And I started with websites that were free, play money, and I started playing tournaments, micro tournaments for $2 and change. And the first $2.80 tournament I played, I got first in. I think it was $2.80. I started just playing online tournaments and more tournaments, and then stepped up a little bit, and I kept winning tournaments. And after about 6 months, I started to go to Atlantic City, and I started to play tournaments in Atlantic City, first at the Wsop Casino, which is no longer there, and they had $65 buy-in tournaments, and the second or third tournament that I played, I got fourth place in. I believe it was over $1,000 for a $65 buy-in. So that's how I got started, and gradually I graduated to the Borgata in Atlantic City, and then gradually I started playing bigger tournaments and going to Vegas and playing bigger tournaments, and then I started documenting things. About 3 years ago, I started to play the main event, and I've been taking footage and documenting and hoping that somewhere down the line, something will be important.
I'm back in Atlantic City, and I came last week to play a tournament. They have what you call a deep stack tournament. It's $180 on Wednesdays. It's 2 weeks worth of events. So the one I played last week was $180, and today it's basically the same buy-in and the same structure. So I went pretty far last week. It was 230 something players, and I went out like 50th. I ran 2 pair into a set. So, you know, I've done quite a bit on my website, JoannaHolliday.com. And especially when I'm out in Las Vegas, I'm going to try to record daily to update people on the action and what's going on. It's been a really long year. I had an eye surgery last April, and when I went to Las Vegas last summer, I actually was April, May, June, July, like 4 months post-op. Had some difficulty in a couple of tournaments where I couldn't see the cards from certain seats. The seats at the far end, there's about 4 seats that aren't good for me. I think this year I'm gonna have to say something, because I played a Borgata tournament a couple weeks ago, and the seat that I was in was very difficult to see the cards, and it was very disabling. So I feel like I should have the same shot as anyone else. I'm not giving myself any sort of advantage by doing this, but I kind of feel annoyed that I have to actually do this. It's a terrible inconvenience, but I have this retina issue that I have to deal with. So up to recording episode 5. The podcast is Joanna and Kevin's Big Show podcast. It's now on iTunes. I think it's going to be on Google Play quickly or soon, shortly. We've had a couple of guests. We had Billy the Artist, billytheartist.com. And we also had Kaylee Ronayne, who is a bartender at the bar that I work at, Doc Holliday's, and she's also an actress. You can find her on Instagram at Paley Kaylee. As she said, pale with a Y and kale with a Y. But yeah, so basically I decided that 3 years ago when I started to play the World Series of Poker that I was going to document sort of just the story of an amateur poker player who
I said amateur,
is trying
but what I
to
meant was
grind it out.
I'm not somebody
in
that
Atlantic
plays
City,
poker
in
for a
Las
living.
Vegas.
That's what I meant.
Maybe some
And
inside
so I
tips in Las
edited it.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Happy hours, that's on my website as well. But I just thought that down the line, you never know what's going to happen, and it's nice to have the documentation. I'm kind of a storyteller in all that I do, so this is basically storytelling, and that's all it is. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm documenting. This week I forgot my toothbrush, even though I remembered the toothpaste. I forgot my toothbrush, but luckily there's a vending machine. There's access to things here. There's a gift shop, and there's also a Rite Aid in town, but hopefully I don't have time to go into town. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna wear my hat. My hat is helpful because it blocks the light that beams down on you in the tournament room. And yeah, I mean, basically I played well last week. I just ran a big hand into a even bigger hand. They now are doing something called big blind only ante, which means instead of everybody putting in their ante every round, just the big blind puts in the ante for the whole table. So it saves a lot of confusion. Sometimes people are like, oh, did I put my ante in? I forget. And then sometimes, even though you have to do it every round, people forget and you're waiting for them and it slows down the game. It's interesting, but that's technical stuff, and I don't want to get into technical stuff too much because my documentation is sort of for the lay person. Every year, you get a little bit better and you need experience. You just need to keep playing. So I'm going to keep playing, and hopefully today we will make some money. And if not, then I will take advantage of all that Atlantic City has to offer. But let's go get the money today. Hold on. I'll show you in a second. It's hard to get the sunglasses under there. Let me try these sunglasses. Maybe these are better. They're smaller. I don't know. What do you think of this? Poker look. Don't mess with me, man. How's this? Double sunglasses. Yeah.
I've probably played 300 tournaments in my life. I've probably cashed in 80 tournaments. The range that I play is anywhere from a $65 buy-in to a $10,000 buy-in. Although the $10,000 buy-ins, this will be my third this summer, the main event in Las Vegas. Next to that, I've played some 3,500s, 1,500s, thousands.
I lasted a really long time in that tournament. Let's see. It started at 11, and I busted at after the dinner break. I busted after the dinner break, so 7:30. Started at 11. They were paying 27 spots out of 220 players, and I went out 7 spots from the money, but I didn't have any fold equity. I was in the big blind with ace, 9 of hearts, and I was up against pocket kings and ace queen, so I pretty much was drawing very thin. I could have gotten a flush or ace 9 to pair. That was pretty much it, or a runner straight. But, I lasted really deep in the tournament. It was a warm-up for the World Series of Poker. I'm pretty happy with how I played, and I made the right decisions, and that's really all I can do. It's really hard to come back and record that I busted a tournament, but it was really standard. I made the right decisions almost the entire tournament. I might have been able to play a little bit looser at one point, but besides that, I made the right folds, I made the right decisions, and that's really all that poker is about. I do feel like I've been working really hard on my game, even though I wasn't able to play the last year as much as I would have liked to. I do feel that hard work will pay itself off. So, I did go further this week than I did last week in the exact same tournament. It was almost the exact same amount of players, and I finished about 50th last week, and this week 34th, very close to the money, but I was short stacked, and when you get to a certain point, mathematically you have no choice. I didn't have any fold equity in the position that I was in. I don't want to get too technical in these vlogs that I do, because what it's really about is just having a goal and working towards the goal, working really hard, and pushing yourself further than you think you can go. It's also about stamina. These tournaments are really rough. I feel very drained, very, very, very tired, and my back hurts. Sitting on my sitting down for what was it? 8 hours is almost more exhausting than being on my feet bartending for 8 or 9 hours. So it's tough. It takes an enormous amount of concentration. It takes an enormous amount of perseverance and patience. There's a lot of times where you're just folding. I also was short stacked a bunch of times where I had to be patient, and I was. So I survived a really long time. The goal is obviously not to get knocked out. And there was one key hand, I don't want to get technical, but there was one key hand where I really should have tripled up. I had ace-10 of diamonds. I was up against ace-3 offsuit and king-8, and the guy with the ace-3 hit a 3. But otherwise, I would have tripled up in that spot. I would have had about 60 big blinds, and I would have been in a pretty good chip position. Instead, he hit a 3, and then although he had less chips than I did, I actually won the side pot against King 8. But I really should have tripled up in that hand. But that's poker. That's standard. Things don't always work out the way that they should or the way that you want them to, and that's why it is some form of gambling. Although I do believe that ultimately it is a game of skill, more like chess, or more like chess. So that's the story. I'm really tired. I feel really drained. I'm probably going to get up in the morning and maybe hit the hot tub before I get on the bus back to New York. I have to work Friday and Saturday, and then I got to pack because I'm leaving town, and I'm Vegas bound in less than a week. So it was a really good warm-up. I'm glad that I squeezed in one more tournament because I hadn't played that many this year, and I made it really far, and it was a good run, and it is what it is, and that's all I can do is make the right decisions and hope that the poker gods bless me.
In preparation for the World Series of Poker this summer, I tried to squeeze in some more tournaments. So 2 weeks in a row, I went to Atlantic City to play a Borgata Deep Stack tournament. They were $180 buy-ins with a pretty good starting stack. And I made it pretty far in both tournaments. It's a warm-up for Las Vegas. I leave in 5 days, and I arrive on Wednesday night. On Thursday morning, I'll be playing the ladies tournament in the World Series of Poker. And hopefully I cash in that. And then a couple days break, and I will be playing the main event, which starts on July 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. I believe it's 9 full days of play, 12 hours a day. So I'm hoping I won't be home until the 17th or so of July. No woman's ever won the World Series of Poker, so that's a very good reason to want to do it. But I've just been working very hard for 12 years. I feel very confident in my game, and I love the challenge. And I couldn't think of a better thing to do this summer. So I'm getting ready to go. I hope that everything goes as smoothly as possible. The important thing is to remember to have fun, but I also hope that I get good cards and that I make the right decisions and think things through like I always do. And I'd really like to thank all the people that have supported me, that believe in me, that think I'm capable of doing what I want to do in life and in poker. I have the best regulars at my bar, and they support me when I'm behind the bar and in everything else that I do. All my silly side projects, and I don't know, maybe they're not so silly, but I really appreciate and want to thank and feel thankful for all of the love and support that I have. It's the greatest bunch of people I think I've ever met in my life, and I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate it. I say it's really important to be your own cheerleader, because who else is going to do it for you? But I've had a very solid group of people behind me, and when I win this thing, I'm really going to thank you guys, and I'm going to fly y'all out. Top 100, I expect to see you guys in Las Vegas.